Hello, welcome back to another episode of Compact Claustrophobia. How are you guys doing? I'm doing pretty good myself, actually. Some exciting news. My brother actually released his first song called In Due Time recently, and man, I've been jamming out to it a whole bunch. So a little bit of a background to this, you're gonna get some lore drop, right? Get ready. When I was rebranding to the rubber band ball, I had asked my older brother to make like a professional photo shoot for it, with the lights, the smoke, the cameras, and everything. And it actually turned out really good. It's what I've been using for my profile picture, and part of that photo shoot was also some recordings to go along with the smoke machine that he had. And so one day I had visited home and I asked my younger brother, hey, can you write some music for this, right? Because my whole idea was to turn that video into an outro slide, and it's actually what I've been using for a while now. And so for the past couple of weeks, my younger brother has been actually working on some music to go along with that outro video. And he finally published it, and oh man, it sounds really good. I'm extremely impressed. And I just gotta say, I really like it when people create anything really, especially family members, of course. Because to me, it's just really cool when people think of stuff and are able to put it into a medium, right? Like music, art, and whatnot. It's so cool to see that. But yeah, I'll go ahead and put his info in the description. Feel free to check out his music, give him some love and whatnot. We'd all appreciate it. Anyways, that's enough shameless advertisement. Let's get into the episode. On the last one, we accomplished two major goals. One of them was setting up this biblically accurate phytogenic insulator to give us some wood. And right now we have like 20,000 wood already. I just left this running for a while, and yeah, that's probably more wood than we're probably going to need in this pack. But having more of it is not going to hurt us, right? And the other thing we set up was this array of auto clickers to generate us some basic resources. And this stuff is getting sent into a bunch of caches over here. And so far, we actually have a good amount of resources. I think right now, uranium is our most plentiful at 37,000. And we got plenty of others in the 10,000 range. We may have to upgrade the auto clickers though, because the compact machine recipes can get really expensive later on. For example, the maximum size needs 6 giant, which needs 6 of these. So I remember doing the math, right? It was 6 of them was like 30,000. Let's just guess 30,000. And then if you need 6 of that, you're gonna need like 180,000 or something ridiculous like that. So chances are we are going to have to upgrade this. I don't really have a plan for that yet because we are quite a ways away from the max size. So we'll leave it like this for now. And when I feel the need to upgrade it, then I'll just go ahead and spam it with more auto clickers, right? But for our purposes, this is pretty good right now. So moving forward in the pack, if I check out the quests here, next step, of course, is to get the giant compact machines going. And before I do this, I actually wanted to first automate ender pearls. Ender pearls are going to be extremely helpful for us because they're used to make Enderium. And this stuff is used to fully upgrade the thermal foundation machines, which is going to go a long way in producing even more stuff. But I had mentioned last episode that this is going to be a little tricky to automate because it's using the miniaturization field projectors. I don't exactly know how I'm going to do that, but someone did mention in a comment in one of the other videos that I can actually use building gadgets, specifically the copy-paste gadget. This shouldn't be too expensive. No, it's poop, of course. But I should be able to use this along with an auto clicker, and I'm going to set it full passive. I'm not going to be requesting things like I usually do. I think I want to set up a fully automated way to get the ender pearls. That way I don't actually have to wait. It's just going to keep a good amount of it stocked. And the only downside I can think of right now about doing it this way, this is only going to do that one recipe. So if I wanted something else, then I'm going to have to set up another box, which is going to happen once we get the other tier of compact machines if I decide to automate this as well, which I'm probably going to want to do. But that's what the auto clickers were for. We have a lot of resources now, so it should be way easier to craft the large compact machines now. Yeah, look at that. So that's the first step this episode. I'm going to do some brainstorming, trying to figure this out, because this is something I've never done before. And I think it's going to be a fun learning experience. And I did mention it last time. I really do like learning some new stuff. So let's figure this out. It's about to get real technical in here. So the first thing to think about, how do we even get the items into this room? We have this connection here to our refined storage system, and I'm going to try to use an interface. I should be able to just tell this to stock obsidian, redstone, and the blocks. And the cool thing about these copy-paste gadgets, you can actually set an inventory to them, but we also have to look at the recipe itself. It needs 26 obsidian, 1 block of redstone, and 1 piece of redstone dust. So I think I can actually middle click, yes, and tell this to stock 26. And then the next step is to teach the copy paste gadget what to copy paste. And I'm just going to build the structure here. It's just we've already seen this last time. It's just a simple 3x3. I think if I right click and then right click again, it has copied the area. And I'm just going to test it with a blank slate. So I think this little shadow tells me that that area is copied. And if I open the hotkey, which right now it's set to G, we select the paste option, and then we should be able to paste it. But it looks like it's only doing the top part. And I think the next thing you have to do is actually tell it edit placement. And I think with how this copy paste tool works is that it's dependent on where you're hovering. So that block is where I plan the auto clicker to point to. So if I edit placement, well, first of all, I have to highlight the block that I wanted to place. Let's say right there. And if I edit it, go up 2 blocks and then pretty much center it on that space like that. And then OK. Yes. So as long as the auto clicker is pointing at that block, then it's going to place in this area. So pretend I'm the auto clicker, right? It'll place there, take the items from the interface, and then I have to figure out a way to get this piece of redstone and chuck it there. That's going to be a little tricky. But we'll figure that out once we get the auto clicker in place. And yeah, I'm going to use cobblestone as our building block, but we're not cavemen. We have a little bit of decoration. I'll meet you in the middle. I guess I'll use which one looks nice? I always like the big tile option, so I guess we'll go with that one. Just to make it look a little pretty, right? So the auto clicker is going to be facing down, and I've already proved it before that the auto clicker has a certain range, so it should reach this block right here and actually place the item. I think that's as low as I can get, because if I put another one, the field projectors don't like that. Now, if I tell this, right click and then give it the gadget here, will it actually work? Oh, look at that. Yes, it does. But I'm pretty sure it'll like mess up again if it places another one, because it does have the resources. That's where the redstone control is going to have to come in. So right now, this is pretty good, the placement. But the next step is to figure out how am I going to get this piece of redstone into here. And then another thing to consider, this copy paste gadget does lose energy. So we have to use an energetic infuser to charge it. And I think I can just put that guy like pretty much anywhere, right? Let's put it right there. And we can configure this to do a push-pull, auto input and auto output enabled. And then we just have to power this. And I think I'll just give it some power through right here. And I think how this works is if it can accept, for example, if this gadget does lose power, it's just going to accept it instantly. Yeah, see that? And then it charges and then it just puts it back. So I think this is the charging of that gadget accounted for. But let's take it out before it puts more stuff in there that we don't want. So really the next steps are going to be the most tricky parts, is to make sure that we can control this setup so that it doesn't put too much stuff. I could show you guys, but I don't want to because it's going to put obsidian everywhere, and that's not very easy to break. But what we have to get working is placing the 3x3 cube, and then once that is placed, we throw a piece of redstone in there, and then we collect the ender pearl, and it gets sent back to storage. So the collection is actually pretty simple. I can just use an accumulator. And I'll go ahead and just put it like right there. But if I shift right click it, I should be able to filter it with ender pearls right there. And then just send it back into storage. So if this thing were to craft ender pearls, it should be able to take them and then throw them back into storage. So to drop the redstone, I'm going to be using a sheet metal chute. I don't like using a vanilla dropper because they tend to spit all over the place, but the immersive engineering chutes, they're designed to drop in a straight line always, and you can actually pipe items into it. So the idea is to pipe this to the redstone. It's going to look a little bit like a mess, but that's part of the fun, right? Tell you what, let's put it right over here, and then we just pipe it over like this. And then if you want to get the redstone out of there, we're going to give this a servo. And we can filter it to redstone. Now this is where it gets weird. I don't always want to be pumping items into it, right? Let me turn that off actually. Because that just means it's going to non-stop put items into here, and we don't actually want that. We have to find a way to tell the servo to turn on only when the structure is built. And the way I'm thinking how to do that is to actually put an observer off of the energetic infuser. Because I think with how those energetic infusers work is that if it detects an item, it actually will just turn on. And then we can use that redstone signal to tell the servo to actually push the item. Because the idea is if the infuser actually activates, that means we have built the structure. So let's say I give the auto clicker the copy paste gadget. And then once it builds on there, the energetic infuser is going to take the item and start charging it. And it doesn't work. Oh, no. Break it. Take it out. Oh, what happened? Man, I'm going to have to clean up this mess right now. Oh, no. This is probably the best pick that I have also. All right, give me a minute to clear this up. This takes so long. So let's put on our engineering hats and let's try to figure out what went wrong. So this is what I'm thinking. When there's nothing here, the auto clicker is going to face this block and place this, right? If for some reason I'm not able to throw the redstone in time, the clicker is now pointed on this block, which is how we got obsidian up here. We don't want that. And if I've learned anything in my 2 years as a test engineer, is that most of the time, the best solution is the easiest one. I was going a little bit too complicated with this. So what I'm thinking is instead of having a placement point that can change, we're going to be facing the clicker in one spot always, and this spot will never change. The only thing is that I have to point at this block and then make sure we actually offset it to the correct placement behind us. That's where it can get a little tricky, right? Actually, no, it's not even that tricky. As long as I face that block, and then I have to, not anchor, and then I have to tell this to actually place into the bounding box of the miniaturization field. Right there. But okay, meaning that whenever the clicker clicks on that block, let's give it a try here. It should place it there, and because it's facing the same spot, it's not going to add any more blocks. This way, I don't actually have to have any control. I just have to make sure that this is always empty. If I put another block here, it's going to mess everything up, and I'm not going to show that to you because I'm scared. So we're going to grab this infuser, go ahead and plug it right here. So same thing, I have to configure this to push-pull, and there we go. So this should work. So let's say I put another piece of redstone. It's gonna put another one in there, and then the craft is still working, which is what we expect. And let me make sure it actually works. I'm gonna turn off the output so that I can actually see it working. Let's craft another one. So it places another one, the craft is finishing. Does the accumulator pick up the ender pearl, or does it just delete itself? No, it picks it up, sweet. So then the other issue is, okay, well, how am I going to drop items into here? I don't think I actually need any redstone control. I can just tell the servo to just always push items. And this should be redstone, actually. Oops. Oh, no. I forgot to filter it, so it did that. And then I can filter this to also redstone, right? So that it always just attempts to put items, and if it's not able to, oh, it broke. Actually, no, it's working. I forget that it places a new one, right? Yeah. Most of the time, the best answer is the easiest one. This way, I don't actually have to do any kind of redstone controls. It just works. And I can probably reduce the servo here to be a little slower so that it doesn't push that many items out. I'll do the simplest one. This is the first tier of servo. And then whitelist to redstone and realize that I probably broke it again. No, it's fine. Okay. And just like that, I think we have our automation going. But there is one more thing I have to account for, is to tell the auto clicker to stop working whenever we have enough ender pearls. So I'll put a detector right there. And I'll tell it to emit a signal when it is above, I don't know, 200? Let's try 200 for now. This will probably work. I'm going to connect it to our refined storage and then test it with like 2. So we have more than 2 ender pearls in the storage, and that's going to tell this auto clicker to stop working. Just like that, right? I can probably also tell this redstone low so that it also doesn't work if I give it a redstone signal like that. Yeah, this way it also won't output the items all the time. And then we are going to set this to 200. And this should be our system now. Sweet. I've been watching this for a little bit, and it's actually really funny. And I guess I'll show you what I was thinking in the single player world. It was a whole setup. And I was kind of dreading building it. But the setup was trying to craft the ender pearls instead of fully passiving them. And it had some weird timing to it. It wasn't 100% either, and it had some bugs. The other thing I should mention is that if you want to set it up a different way, you can actually read a comparator output from these field projectors. So it turns on while it's crafting. And that might be pretty helpful later on down the road. But right now we're going to stick with whatever's in the Let's Play world instead of whatever this is. Oh no, it broke. What happened? Do we have enough obsidian? It looks like it says so. Actually, let me check the storage. Last time I checked, we had like 1,000 obsidian. We have 1. Yeah, it's definitely what it is. So we're producing obsidian in the passive box back here. If I can parkour a little bit. It's back here. And it's using the magma crucible to generate lava. And then it just sends the lava into that barrel. And you see here that this is pretty slow. So we got to figure out a better way to produce obsidian, because we already consumed 1,000 of it, and it hasn't really been that long. But I don't think I want to use the magma crucible, because this one isn't even upgraded that much. It's only on the hardened tier, without any speed augments either. And it's already consuming 1,500 RF per tick. This is not a good long-term solution. But I think the solution that the quest gives us is the crucible. And I guess this is the major reason why it's gated until you get ender pearls, because you need a lot of lava to get obsidian to get even more pearls. So I believe this is the next step. And the idea is cramming it inside not a large one, a normal compact machine. And not just one. I'm going to be setting up recipes for multiple of them. But one potential issue is the glitch tiny machine. It needs sewage, and we don't actually have an automated way of getting sewage. Probably something I'm going to have to set up as well. Yeah, I'm going to have to do this. And I guess this goes to show you that everything in this mod pack returns to poop eventually. So I'm going to be a little silly with it and put it in this room, because why wouldn't I? So there's 2 recipes involved with making sewage. The first one is going to be using a barrel filled with water. We just have to give it some poop and we get the sewage out of it. And I'm going to hijack this water source over here, put it right there. And I'm going to work backwards through this. I'm going to give it a space for the output sewage, and it's going to get it from the barrel using a servo. But I think I have to filter it first. We'll see. If I give it a fluid duct right here and I enable it, are you going to mess up? Yes, you are, because that's also a container. This tank is already locked to sewage, but we have to figure out a way to not get the water in there. So there's one thing about these servos I never could understand when it comes to filtering with the fluids. If I give this blacklist water, does it work like this? Oh, look at that. Yeah, it doesn't output the water. So you just need to have the bucket in there. That's good to know. So what if I give it a poop? There it is. It is able to push the sewage out. And then we just have to keep giving it poop and we get more sewage out of it, right? Okay. So I'm pretty sure that's the sewage accounted for. But how is this barrel going to get the poop? That's what's next. That's going to be another recipe over here. And we're going to be using a fluid transposer, which is going to take the sewage with pulped bioblend and output the poop. So I'm going to go ahead and put the fluid transposer right over here. I'm going to ask it to import sewage, if it's going to let me. I think I have to turn on auto input. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not inputting the fluid, even though I have auto input enabled. So I'm just going to pour it from the bottom using another fluid duct setup here. And then I got to make sure that this doesn't connect either, and then lock it just in case. So now this fluid transposer has sewage, and then we just have to give it some pulped bioblend. And what I'm going to do for that is give it an exporter, give it pulped bioblend, and a crafting upgrade. And I got to tell this to input. So now this is going to get the pulped bioblend, and I should probably power this as well. It's probably not a good idea to keep doing this, but I'm going to keep doing this. Hang on, this is going to go all the way up there. It's very cramped in here, but it's all part of the improvements, right? There it is. So that should be powered now, right? Yes. And we'll notice here that it's very slow, and I'll probably upgrade it. But now it's producing me poop, and I'm going to store it using a cache up here. And then we output. And then push. Yes, and then block, and now we have a source of poop. And in order for me to access the poop, if I ever want to, we'll just give it an external storage right there. So now we have a source of poop, and now our sewage as well. So the last thing is to actually get the poop that we produce back into this barrel, so we set up the loop. And I'm just going to use an item duct with the servo for that. So let me see if I can actually do that here. There's one right there. And then tell this to export. I'm going to have to rewire some of this stuff, but that's kind of expected. You know what? I have some ladders here. Let's climb up to see what's going on up here. A little easier. Put that right there. So now the poop goes into here. The sewage outputs, it goes back into the transposer, makes more poop, which goes into the barrel, and we keep doing this over and over again. And the cool thing is that we only need like 200 millibuckets of sewage per poop. So over time, the amount of sewage we have is going to build up. And then this buildup is what we're going to be using for the glitch tiny machines. I might as well upgrade this, right? Yeah, let's do that. And here's a signalum upgrade with a couple of augments. How fast are you? Now you're a little too fast. I don't think the exporter can keep up, but I'm just going to leave this running for a while, and then we'll see this build up. We already have 17 buckets of sewage, which is actually a pretty good amount. We're probably going to have to fix it up later, right? Because I'm pretty sure one of the end game quests, if I check for challenges, 100 metric, I'm not going to say that, but it sounds like we're probably going to have to make a ton of poop. Once we need to upgrade this, we'll revisit it. But I think this is pretty good for now, actually. Yeah, it looks like we're building a poop, which is not something I ever thought I'd say in any mod pack, but here we are now. I also wanted to mention something we should account for. We're using sugarcane to get pulped biomass, but one of the byproducts that we get is a ton of sugar. And over time, this is going to clog up our storage. So what I can do is just give it a cache, give it an external storage like that, and then set this to like, I don't know, a higher priority. So that any sugar we craft in storage is going to prioritize going into here first. And that's going to give us an extra 300,000 space for sugar. And look at that, we already got a couple. I may have to set up a trash can at some point, but we have plenty of time before our drives fill up. So I'm not too worried about that right now. Anyway, so I left the setup running for quite a while, and we do have poop building up, which does mean we have the sewage building up as well, which is a good thing because we wanted the sewage to turn that into the glitch tiny machines, which are going to be used to craft the crucibles. I'm going to plan to craft 24 of them, and I'm going to explain why after I actually get them. I'm going to be doing the tiny machine conversion process manually, and this is how I'm going to do it. You can actually use a fluid outlet from Immersive Engineering. This isn't too expensive, it's just a bunch of iron. So what this thing does is it actually takes in fluids and will pour them out into the world, but before I actually connect it, I have to configure it. Because by default, it's going to be putting fluids everywhere. You see where it says facing side output? We don't want that. We only want it to be put in this one spot right here. So the top is going to be input, and then we can use an engineer's hammer to disable it. So put all of the other sides it has access to no connection. And then we want the output to be right here. And then I can shift right click to access the bottom and set that to no connection. So I think I should be able to connect it now. And there we go. So now we have sewage just hanging out right here. And I just got to make sure that it doesn't actually delete the sewage. And yeah, it's not going down. So that means it's not going to pour over the fluid that's already there. That's pretty cool. And then all I would do is just throw the tiny compact machines into the sewage to get the glitch tiny machines. So I got 24 right here. And there we go. And it's going to be a little slow, I think. Okay, I don't know why it stopped working. I guess it's slow. It does have an internal storage. You can see there that it has 4 buckets, but it's having trouble outputting. I'm not too sure what to do about that. Yeah, this guy's a little slow. I guess this is so slow. What if I give it a like a redstone signal? No, I don't think that does anything. All right, I guess I'm just going to have to do this manually. Fine. Let's get a bucket. But now that I have the glitch tiny machines, I should be able to craft the 24 crucibles that I want. Yep. All right, go for it. So while these are crafting, I wanted to talk a little bit about how these crucible works if you weren't familiar with Ex Nihilo. So what the crucible does is you put some materials into it. This just tells you what kind of materials you can put, and it's going to generate lava. But you also have to heat it up on the bottom. And this little tab here tells you what fluids and what blocks you can put on the bottom to give you the most heating rate. You can see here, nuclear craft is our best option. So if I use something like americium, that's 100 times heating rate. And then berkelium gets to 600. And I think the most I've seen is californium, which is 3000. Pretty sure what the math tells me is that one block of californium corresponds to like 3000 of these crucibles on top of a torch. It's pretty good. But I don't think I want to do that because californium is a little bit atrocious to acquire. You have to go through a lot to deal with it, and I don't want to do that. So I think the best option out of all of these items here, blazing pyrotheum is pretty good at 15x, but I hear that this can be a little laggy if you have a lot of it, and we're going to have a lot of it, so I don't want to do that. But thorium 230 seems pretty good. We do have to do a little bit of processing to get this, but I think this is the route we want to take because it is 61x times, which is pretty good compared to the other things we can use. We want thorium 230, and I believe the best way to get this is through a decay hastener of uranium 238, and this is something we're already crafting to get our fission reactor fuel. Yeah, we already have a bunch of this. So all I would need to do right now is to make a decay hastener and get this going. And look at that. This needs ender pearls, which we already have. So it worked out, right? So yeah, this is the recipe I'm going to give to it. It's uranium 238 into uranium 230. Oh, we can just directly turn it into the block. I thought you had to like cook it into an ingot or something. I guess not. Okay, so the thorium is set up now, and before I can fully talk about what's going to happen, I should really hurry up and place these because there's going to be a lot of radiation coming in. But I have a compact machine over here, and I'm going to set them up like this. Going to be 4 rows of 6 crucibles, separated by 1 block each. Oops. I've already planned this out in my head. Whether or not it's actually going to work, I got no idea, but one way to find out, right? And then each of these crucibles are going to have an item conduit. So Ender IO item conduits are actually pretty good because they allow both insert and extract, and the thermal foundation ones don't really do that. I can condense this setup by using these instead. These aren't too expensive either, now that we have ender pearls being crafted. It just takes pulsating iron, which is what the ender pearls are going to be for. So I'm probably going to be using these from now on, instead of the thermal foundation item ducts. It'll help us out in the long run. So we're going to need a space for the obsidian output, and I guess I'll put it up here. And then we're also going to need a space for the cobblestone, and I guess I'll just put that over here. And I guess I have to move it up so that it's actually, oops. Oh, okay. I made the dense cobblestone generator, which it's too good. Oh, we have a trash can here. I can use that. But we have a quality of life issue. So I'm going to have to set each of these conduits to insert and then extract on a different color. But doing this 24 times is not going to be very fun. So I guess a quick tutorial lesson I can show you guys is the conduit probe. So with it, I can just copy one setting and then paste it to all the others so I can save a lot of time. But the issue with this is that it needs grains of infinity, just one piece though. This isn't too hard to get. You just have to set fire to bedrock. Oh, there it is. The funny thing I'm thinking about is that usually in most mod packs you have like tons of these because you usually get them in, of course, dungeon chests, but you also get them like in mob drops sometimes through loot bags. So this is really the first mod pack I've ever had to willingly craft one of these. It's pretty funny. So what I intend to do is to extract out of the cobblestone with the green signal, and then we insert on green. So now this one has cobblestone. Extract on brown. And this is where the conduit probe is going to come in handy. Shift, right? Yeah, I have to shift scroll to change setting. I think this one just lets me check the probes. Yeah. But if I shift scroll to copy paste mode, I can copy and then go ahead and paste them to every single crucible. So you'll see here that they're starting to accept cobblestone. Anyways, every single conduit is now set up correctly. So really the next step is to just cover the crucibles with water and then realize that it doesn't work because I think I missed a step. Uh-oh, the obsidian is made in a barrel, not the crucible. So I'm going to have to pump all of the lava into barrels. It's going to be a little tricky, but honestly not too bad. It gives me an excuse to make these pressurized fluid conduits next, which are going to be used to pass the lava into a bunch of barrels. I can do that real quick. 1 second. And then again, I'm going to have to copy paste the settings. The cool thing is about it, it actually accounts for all connections. So if you have multiple conduit types, it will work. This is the most involved lava obsidian production I've ever done on any mod pack, but this is actually pretty fun, I think. Whether or not it's like efficient, I got no idea, but we'll keep it like this. And then because each of them are going to be outputting obsidian, we also have to connect them with an item conduit. And then we got to think about it. It's going to be insert for the fluid because we want to put the lava in there. And then we're going to extract on brown, a different color for the obsidian. And then one more time, we copy paste the settings. And then you can probably notice that there's no lava going into these. That's because of how the fluid conduits work. They have different fluids in them, right? So this one has lava, the ones on the bottom, but these don't have anything. So by default, Ender IO refuses to connect them if they have different fluids, but you can actually shift scroll with the Yeta wrench to actually select what conduits you're looking at. So these are the fluids, and I just have to right click and it pushes the fluids into there. So now all the barrels will have lava. And then the next step is to feed all of the cobblestone into the crucibles on the bottom and then extract the obsidian. And I guess I'll just put it up here so it's easy to access the conduit network. So just put the conduits up here. And then we want the cobblestone to be extract green. And then we want the obsidian to be insert brown. And then we just have to feed all of the barrels with water on top. And I'll just use slabs so we don't spill water everywhere. Oh, look how fast that is. Wow. Do you see how fast it's converting it? Alright, these guys are not connected and I have no idea why. Why not? What's wrong with you? Oh yeah, that's what it is. So, yeah, these conduits are not connected to each other. The item one. So all I have to do is just pass a cable like this. I think that should be good now. So one thing I could probably do is set the cobblestone generator to round robin. I think with how these conduits work by default, they only extract 4 items per operation. So it's like 4 items every now and then. So 2 things I can do is round robin so that it distributes evenly. And then I can also give it some speed upgrades so that it extracts up to a stack at a time, which is going to be a lot faster for us. So I'll get to crafting those. Alright, so I got a couple of speed upgrades going. The max you can put in a conduit is 15. I think it's already having an effect. We already have 896 and it hasn't really been that long. I can probably speed this up somehow, maybe with faster lava output, but we'll leave it like this for now. It's going to help us out in the long run. And then the next thing I can do is attach this to the crafter manager and then give it a storage bus. So that now we have even more obsidian. And I guess this also means I can tear down this setup over here, the old setup. Yeah, this one, because I'm not really interested in this anymore. We're still going to leave this little magma crucible here just for the lava output because we're not saving the lava from the crucible setup. And yeah, just a little bit longer and now we have 1700. You're not doing anything and you're fully built. Uh-oh. I think I have an idea of what's going on. So if I break it, yeah, there's no redstone inside it. And I think that is because I don't have an automated way of producing this. What happens if I give a crafting upgrade to that interface? I imagine that it's going to try to craft any items that the interface export has, which in our case is going to be just redstone. Yeah, no, I don't think the crafting upgrade really is doing anything, so I'm going to take it out. I have another idea. I'm just going to do a pretty simple setup over here. And all it is an exporter going into a chest. You can put it like that. And then we're going to export redstone with the crafting upgrade. And then just feed this a storage bus right here. Actually, I don't think it's going to work how I think it is. Because I think what the exporter will do is just put items in here and then recognize that it has it. And then it's going to try to put an item in here and then recognize it has it. And it's just going to keep doing this over and over again. So I think I'm just going to have to put the chest in the actual Ender Pro automation area. Or hear me out. I can also just use the sequential fabricator and export redstone dust into it. Or actually a factorizer. Yeah, a factorizer. We'll do a factorizer because this doesn't take any power. Yeah. Let's do that. It's still going to be a very simple setup. We'll put the factorizer back here. Then accept items from the back. And then we'll output on the right side to a chest. And then an external storage attached to the chest. And then I'll feed this with redstone so that nothing else will go in here. And then feed this a... Oh, hang on, I can get in here, right? Yes, I can. An exporter with redstone dust. And there you go. Now this guy's going to get the redstone. It combines it to redstone blocks and it gets stored here. I'm just going to use a regular chest. We don't need that much redstone. Check my redstone storage. We actually have 40 and then, yeah, we're building redstone now. So if I check my miniaturization automation, this should be working now. Yes, sweet. Awesome. So we got a better way of producing obsidian, and then we got redstone blocks being crafted automatically, and then now we have the actual dust being produced from the auto clickers, which is going to end up turning it into ender pearls. So I turned around to do a little bit of editing, and now we have 200 ender pearls, which is telling our system to stop producing anymore. I can probably increase this, but I think having 200 is good enough for now. If I need more, I can just increase the number. And let's check on our obsidian. We have 10,000. Yeah, okay. Our efforts have been pretty good today. It's a good thing I set up the Crucible farm and the Ender Pearl Maker, because this stuff is going to really help us out later on. It is about time to wrap up the episode, though. I am checking the time now, and we are a little bit over, but we had to get this stuff done. Next step is to start working on the giant compact machine, which again is going to take 6 of the large ones, and then I'm also going to be setting up more of these miniaturization projectors so that they're able to craft more things for us. Chances are, just to make my life a little easier, I'm going to set up a different recipe in its own large compact machine. For example, this one's doing our ender pearls, right? And if I want something else, I would just set it up in its own machine. So what I'll do in between episodes is actually craft 6 large ones. And yeah, this is very expensive. 36,000 dusts down the drain, but I'll get that going. And then we'll wait for this to process. And the next episode, we'll continue with making the giant compact machine and then continue into the next quests. But we'll go ahead and call it here for today. As always, I appreciate your time and support. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.